Hi everyone, wish you all a very happy 72nd Republic Day of India, and I'm so sorry for the sound issues that came earlier. Welcome to today's episode of Inside IIM's Industry Pathshala, a live webinar series that aims to bring the world of business closer to young. On this historic
Okay, guys,
occasion,
we are
we are
going to
proud
try
to
it
have.
again. So,
Um,
hi everyone, wish you all a very happy 72nd.
we are proud to have with us Colonel Arjun Pratap Singh Chabba, who has displayed an impeccable amount of knowledge in handling rough situations, human emotions, and resource management over his 20 years of experience with the Indian Army. At the pinnacle of his career, he has led a team of 650 plus men at the world's highest battlefield and was the director of talent acquisition, handling annual hiring targets of 6,500 candidates for the Indian Army before recently starting his journey at the London Business School. Good evening, sir. Welcome to our show.
Thank you. Good evening, and wish you
Thanks a
all a
lot.
very, very happy Republic Day.
Thanks a lot, sir. So, my very first question to you, sir, would be that after you completed your undergraduate degree, what led you to join the Indian Army? Please take us through some of your initial experiences.
Actually, after 12th, I joined the National Defense Academy, which is at Khadakwasla. So my graduation, which was BSc, was at the NDA, which is affiliated to Jawaharlal Nehru University. Joining Indian Army was like a more of a family tradition. I'm the fourth generation to join the army. My great grandfather, my grandfather, my father, everybody's been in the army. So that's how stepped into the same shoes and donned the uniform. Then,
Okay.
if I were to tell you a bit about uh, the initial experiences, then the training is a little tough. I won't say that it's not so because we're all aware of it. But I think then the training is solely responsible for whatever I've been able to achieve in life today. Because NDA teaches you not just to become a soldier, but also a responsible citizen. Besides the military training, they also teach you how to sit, eat, stand, dress up, how to walk, how to even dance.
Yeah,
So it's a very, very holistic training. And suddenly, from a 17-year-old brat, uh, you get converted into a gentleman and an officer. So
definitely.
that was the first part of life.
Okay. Sir, then you went on to become a pilot instructor and trained in Israel, and you were now responsible for planning and executing end-to-end projects to develop multiple air bases from ground zero. So a lot of factors came into play between these two things, and also when you were doing these critical projects, a lot of factors must have come into play. So what were the major challenges you faced, and what were the learnings that you had in terms of project management and operations?
Okay. So I trained in Israel with IAI Malat, and I had a chance to see them operate and how they work. And when I came back to India, things were a little different because uh, in the West and in Israel, you are used to functioning in very, very specialized roles. Whereas in India, they expect you to don the hat for every thing which is possible, and probably which is how project management also functions. You are expected to take on the job which comes in front of you at that particular moment. So, from a very specialized and domain specific atmosphere in the army, you are expected to take on everything. Another key difference that I noticed after coming back was, uh, in normal traditional project management, you are on to what, when, and how. So, those are the key questions that you are answering. But in the army, you are also answering where. So, as a young leader, you decide which is the place which is going to be most suitable. You sound off your ideas with your superiors, get their approval, and that is how the journey starts. Uh, if I were to compare more of my journey with project management, uh, I was responsible for the development of a few air bases in Western India. And there was a lot of coordination which was involved with both the Civil Aviation Ministry, with the state government, and even the Indian Air Force. So, learning from that particular part of the job was the amount of coordination that goes into such projects. There was a case in point where we developed a particular infrastructure and then realized that the civil aviation ministry needed to clear it, and it took years after that to get the necessary clearances. So the amount of coordination which actually goes into project management, that was an eye opener. Uh, Also, projects that are taken on in the army are very, very time critical. So you do not have time for warm ups or for test periods. Everything is working on very, very tight timelines. Uh, they have ramifications in terms of national security and affecting the particular area where they are going to be uh, deployed. So that was another thing, that you had no luxury of testing it or getting a doing something before and then going in for the final deployment. That doesn't happen. So I think these were key lessons that I learned while handling these things. And another issue that I learned during infrastructure development was, uh, we when we were building up a project, we decided to get in the user who was actually going to go into it. So at the development stage itself, the user came up with a lot of ideas. We told him, this is going to be your office, this is going to be your workspace, and this is where so and so is going to sit. So rather than giving him a finished product in terms of everything, we got him in right at the developmental phase itself. And the insights that he brought about were something that probably the architect or we who were developing it couldn't have foreseen. So that was another learning from this. I think it was a very interesting phase.
So, sir, normally what business managers face currently is that when they plan really holistically and they have a project in place, they have resources aligned to it and timelines aligned to it. But suddenly, if something doesn't go well, or because of some environmental factors like the pandemic itself, if all your planning goes for a toss, then how do you actually reform the strategy, keeping in mind the timeline? What would your advice to them be?
So army functions on lot of on multiple plans. So you have plan A, you have a backup plan, plan B, you even have a plan C. And flexibility is one of the key issues that carry the army through. You cannot be rigid on a plan. You have to be prepared for an alternative to something if it doesn't go through. I mean, if I were to draw a simile from one of the projects that we had carried out, something was not, we weren't able to bring up something at a particular area, and we already had a backup plan which was available to us. We already had resources allocated for that within the organization. So that's how we functioned.
Okay, sure, sir. So, you went on to become a certified instructor and also hold multiple diplomas in management. As a lieutenant colonel, you were now a senior operations manager. It would be really helpful to our students if you could help them understand the ways to get into managerial positions in the Indian Army.
Okay, so for a junior team leader, to become a senior manager is a journey of about 6 to 15 years. That is a period when there are two very distinct phases which are progressing simultaneously in your life. One is the academic part of it, and the second is the physical experience part of it. So as far as the academic part of it is concerned, the army makes you do courses. One is the junior certificate in management, and the second is the senior certificate in management, both of which are done at the Army War College, which is affiliated to the Indore University, Devi Ahilyabai University. Other than that, you are also expected to clear exams, which are actually testimonies of your leadership capabilities and the ability to put them in practice. We call them Part B and Part D. And it is only after you have cleared all this do you actually progress ahead. So that is the academic part of it. You are, unlike what a lot of people think, that there is nothing to study in the army. There are a lot of studies, and you can actually do a lot. And other than that is the physical experience of it. So from a small team leader who's leading about, say, 50 men, you start leading about 150, 200 men. And at the same time, you start handling projects, facilities, security, administration. Uh, Another exposure which is given to officers in this particular category is a mandatory 2-year tenure wherein you are handling either operations or logistics or administration. So we call them GQ and A in the army. So it's mandatory for you to work in these particular areas, and that's how a holistic development takes place. I mean, the army invests very heavily in all its officers in terms of both academics and ground experience. And all through this period, you are being assessed for suitability to move on to the role of a what we say a general manager or a CEO in the civil. So, and it's a very tight process. Only about 20 to 30% people actually make it to that rank. So that's how army grooms you and makes you reach that particular position.
Definitely, sir. So the Indian Army is also known for the discipline, teamwork, and team effectiveness really well. So, sir, as our viewers wanted to ask, what exactly were some situations that you actually still remember and which are still relevant in a business setting, which we can, use to bond better with the people around us?
Okay, so one of my tenures was in Assam, and I was responsible for counterinsurgency operations in that particular area. So when we initially went, the local villagers and the people around, they weren't very happy about the fact that we were living in a village and carrying out operations in that area. Which is when we realized that it's first important to win over the people, and so it was actually a multifaceted strategy that we had to adopt in terms of not only gelling within ourselves as a team, but also taking the local populace into confidence. And that was one experience which really changed my line of thought in terms of handling my own team and also their reactions to the local populace, making them understand what a local villager is actually thinking of us, and making the locals understand of how the army operates.
Definitely, sir. So, one of the intriguing questions that has come into my mind is that do you think that people who come out of Indian Army they would make braver managers in the corporate world?
Most definitely. They are very open to taking risks. They uh, they are not timid in their approach. So that is one factor. They are very well organized. They know how to work. They carry with them a very specific skill set. So they work in a very organized manner. They are very focused. They are very loyal to their organization. So definitely they make very good managers.
Definitely, sir. I agree to that. So, now coming to the next phase of our interview today. As a senior logistics manager, you have handled logistics support to troops deployed at altitudes above 15,000 feet, using choppers, convoys, and it's just truly incredible. Many of our students who are there on our platform want to enter the field of logistics and operations after B school. But I think the real life experiences and learnings that you have had can only be experienced once in your life. So, sir, please do share with us some of the instances from this time, learnings from which you still find to be relevant, especially in business operations.
Okay, so handling logistics in the army is a little different from handling logistics in the civil, in the sense that there is a range of operations which you are directly monitoring and handling. So, starting from transportation, you will have to ensure that all the vehicles are serviceable and good to go. You will have to ensure that there are pit stops en route where they can be serviced if required. You will have to ensure that the timing of the move of these vehicles is such that they do not get caught up in a place where they're going to get delayed. And in this particular role, I was handling convoys which are moving up to Sikkim to 18,000 feet. So a person cannot stay there for more than a required amount of time. You had to ensure that the turnaround time is fast. And all this finally boils down to the logistics manager who's handling this role. As far as handling of storage and all is concerned, so the army has very, very specific laid down parameters which are supposed to be followed, whether it is in terms of rations, which ensure that they are turned over on a regular time, or in terms of other stores, or whether it's in terms of ammunition, which has to be stored in a particular manner with safety parameters in mind. So you need to be ensuring all these things. If I were to, put it in terms of the civil, so we have our own R's, as you call it in logistics. So we have the right person, the right place, the right time, and the right equipment and conditions. And all these five, not seven, unlike the civil, which follows 7 hours. So we follow these five, and all these five are being controlled by the logistics manager.
Definitely, sir. So, sir, you spoke about the loyalty to the organization in the army. So, we wanted to know, how can businesses build that? Is it possible that businesses can also garner such loyal employees?
I think everything can be done provided the leader is ready to set standards for his team. So the team follows the leader, and if the leader is willing to set an example for them in terms of loyalty himself, in terms of leading them in a way that they see greater good for them, in terms of aligning them to the goals of the organization, why not? Yes, anything is possible.
Definitely, sir. So, sir, your next role is an extremely intriguing one. As the commanding officer, you led a 650 plus workforce in the newly formed organization at the world's highest battlefield. And you managed a fleet of 100 plus vehicles, undertaking frequent supply chain operations here. So, dealing with such a harsh terrain while maintaining regular operations must have been a challenging task. Please take us to that time and how your experiences were.
So we were moving to Ladakh from a peace area. And before we moved, we set out defining what are the challenges that we faced. And then we started tackling all those challenges one by one, whether it is training of the people or orientation towards a new task, whether it was their medical fitness in terms of making sure that they are fit enough to work in the altitude which was required. Everybody is not fit enough to stay and work at 12,000 feet. So all this started good about 4 or 5 months in advance, reorienting and realigning my setup towards the role that was yet to come. And after reaching there, we realized that there was a different set of uh, issues which needed to be tackled there. There was a very, very long turnaround time which was involved in people moving down and coming up. Um, there were issues of health, there were issues of connectivity. So then we started going about tackling these issues, and mine was a new setup. So there was an additional issue of getting it to gel and getting it to work as a cohesive team. And one of the ways that we went about, going about this was giving greater autonomy to the people below. So we gave them freedom in terms of going on leave and the amount of leave that they want to take. We started a system of open forums where we encouraged them to speak up, and the feedback was free flowing. And over a period of 6 to 8 months, we started seeing the results. People started feeling more involved with the process that was going on. Ideas started flowing in. We started bringing about changes. And when I came to the London Business School, I realized that even Netflix follows the same kind of, loosely the same kind of method of operations. So that's what it was like. It was a very enriching experience. And one of the good things was that I had set about an objective of taking in my full team and getting back my full team, which I was able to achieve. I got back 100% of the people who went in. Those 2 years that we were there in Ladakh, there were no incidents on the border. There was no clashes. So, to ensure that peace is maintained also takes a lot of hard work. So it was a very enriching tenure.
Definitely, sir. Sounds really inspiring. And Colonel, like I had mentioned before joining London Business School, you were the director of talent acquisition and were responsible for hiring 6,400 high potential candidates every year for the Indian Army. So, what characteristics do you think are essential to make the cut, and which ones of them do you think can be developed over time?
I think the most important characteristics that we look for are firstly honesty and integrity. You need to be honest. You may get a step ahead by being extra smart or by cutting somebody else, but then sooner or later things catch up. And the army lays a lot of emphasis on it. If you're honest, you never have to look down. You can look the other person in his eyes. You'll never feel timid about anything. Then you need to be determined. So you have to be a go-getter. If you've decided on something, nothing can stop you. That junoon or craziness actually has the potential to take you to places. And even in battle, you have to think out of the box. You cannot be thinking. There's no battle which has been won by confining yourself to laid down procedures. If it's Kargil, you had to take cliff chop assaults, or you had to think out of the box to win battles. So that is another thing that we value. If the person is innovative, he's able to think out of the box, give solutions, apply his mind. And we also value loyalty, which is what we were just discussing a few minutes ago. We have a concept of naam, namak, and nishan in the Indian Army. So the namak part of it, or the salt that you are actually eating, which comes from the person who has employed you, who's looking after you, your family, your day-to-day life. He's standing up for you in times of need, and we value that, and that is how we keep our loyalty focused towards that particular thing and the organization.
Yes, definitely, sir. So, many organizations and many hiring managers, I think, face this issue. They take students and they take employees thinking that this person is eligible for the job. But what they are not able to tap early is the character of the person. So, what do you think? How can these hiring managers actually find out about the characteristics of a person before, letting them in the organization?
Okay, a good talent acquisition manager will be able to read a person in about 15-20 minutes of time. The common mistake that we make, is that we go as per the person's CV. In fact, mostly in the civil, it's a software, or it's a automated thing which is going through your CV and rejecting and selecting candidates for the further role. And there is a lot of automation also which is taking place in this particular field. However, having gone through this, I very strongly believe that beyond a certain point in an organization, it has to be human interface which has to come in and start deciding whether the person is right or not. And this cannot be solely on basis of what qualifications he has or where he has worked. It has to be on the basis of what skill set does he have, which is going to be useful for your organization.
Definitely, sir. So, coming to the next phase of our interview, sir. So, how did you decide that you wanted to pursue another management education and you wanted to do it abroad?
Um, okay, a lot of people have asked me this question. So, firstly, I firmly believe that learning never stops. There's no age for learning. You see Mr. Anand Mahindra, he's on Twitter, very active. You see Mr. Ratan Tata, he's heading innovation in Tata's. Um, you see Tim Cook, he's deciding what the users want. He still believes that market analysis is not going to decide what Apple does. He will decide what his users want. So those are minds which are ticking. Those are minds which are working. And I believe that the day you stop exercising your mind is the day that your decline starts or the day you stop living. So that is why I opted for a course. I wanted to realign my thought process and my learning so far to suit the corporate world. And I couldn't think of a better place than to come to the London Business School. I mean, they are one of the best people like Herminia Ibarra or Jessica Spangin or Sendil Etiraj. They're churning out leaders and fantastic leaders at that. So that's how I decided that this is what I want to do.
Okay, sir, there is this pertinent question in the minds of our viewers. So they want to ask you, was it difficult to, sit down and prepare for GMAT again, and how did you motivate yourself for doing it?
Yeah, so like I said, we have this saying in the army that nothing can stop a determined man. So if you have decided that you want to do this, there's nothing that can stop you. And it was difficult getting back to the books after such a long time. But then Army made sure that periodically we were doing our courses, learning things, relearning them. And somewhere or the other, the mind is attuned to getting back to the books. Initially, I had a problem, I think the first 1 month or so. But once I got going, I think I was pretty comfortable.
Sure, sir. So, sir, just I wanted to know, after working for 20 years in the industry, when you went back to the education and when you went back to a business school, what were the challenges that you faced to again become a student, and how are you overcoming them?
Uh, uh, Somewhere deep inside, a part of me was actually looking forward to go to school, to business school, because I'd never been to a traditional college. So straight away after 12th, joined the NDA and never seen the excitement or the joy and all the fun that you have in college. So somewhere a part of me was actually looking forward to going to college, and I'm hoping that this lockdown and all this lifts up soon and college is open so that I can enjoy that part. Uh, but yes, it's a very different feeling at this age to get back. It's something akin to what they show in one of those movies where Shah Rukh Khan goes back to college. He's an army officer and he goes back to college. Not that I'm comparing myself to Shah Rukh Khan, but it's a very very different feeling. And the only good thing is that the program which I'm following, the Sloan program, has an average work experience of about 18 to 19 years. So most of my classmates, my peers, are people who have a minimum experience of 14 and a maximum experience of about 25 plus years. So it's a very decent fit, and I don't think I've been uncomfortable so far.
Okay, sir, our viewers would like to know more about the program that you are actually a part of at London Business School.
Okay,
What
so the
exactly is this
Sloan,
program about? Yeah, sure.
yeah. So I'm presently pursuing a Sloan program, and Sloan is currently offered in three institutes, which is MIT, Stanford, and the London Business School. Loosely, all three of them are specializing in different fields. One is, I think, in innovation, one is in IT, and the one at London Business School is focusing on leadership and strategy, which I thought I would be better attuned to, to take on once I leave the army. And it's only these three colleges where this program runs. The program is meant only for experienced professionals who have been able to demonstrate some kind of an achievement in their careers. So, so you have people who are doctors, you have people who are from the hotel industry, you have people from sales and marketing, you have people from Morgan Stanley and such like places. It's a very, very diverse cohort. My class has a representation of about 24 countries, and it's a wonderful experience.
Sure, sir. It sounds really interesting. So, Colonel, after London Business School, where are you trying to venture into? And what do you aspire to become?
Okay, right now I'm keeping all my options open. I haven't firmed up on where I want to go. I've shortlisted my choices. I would love to get into consulting. I would love to get into operations. It's something that I've been doing all my life. I would love to get into projects, but I want the course to run through, and then I want to take a call on where I finally want to go after this.
That's amazing, sir. So, I personally think we had an incredibly inspiring session today. Such real life experiences are and will always be relevant in business, irrespective of the sector. So, thank you so much, sir, for taking out time and speaking with us. I really appreciate the insights you shared with us today, and I'm sure our viewers loved them too. Thank you so much, Colonel, and wish you all the best for all your future endeavors.
Thank you so much. Pleasure being here. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. To all, I'm Shivangi signing off for today. Thanks a lot for watching. We'll be back soon with another episode. Till then, take care and stay safe. Thank you.